Hello, folks. Today we have a real treat. We have Pastor Jeff Pratt, who is the lead pastor, the big man at Emmanuel Baptist Church here in Lebanon, Tennessee. Pastor, how are you today?
Man, I'm great. You doing okay?
I'm doing fantastic. I so admire you. I admire the work that you've done for the church and for everybody that comes in contact with you.
Appreciate that.
What gets you up in the morning? What gets you motivated? What gets you out of bed? What makes you smile?
Man, that's a great question. Right now, probably 2 to 3 days a week, it's my 1-year-old grandson that does that. So he gets dropped off at the house, and Julie and I watch him. So what's really neat is that because my youngest son's a school teacher, and his mom is a pediatric nurse, and so to help them, we'll watch them a couple days a week, and then the other set of parents kind of takes the other half a day. But we get the first part. So about 7 o'clock in the morning, Graham gets dropped off, and I go get him from my son's car and bring him into the house, and I'll throw him back into bed with Julie and me, and we sit in there and wrestle and play for about 30 minutes, and it's just awesome, man. It's great.
As soon as you mentioned his name, you got this big smile.
Oh yeah, Graham. He's our first grandson. We've got 3 granddaughters, and he's our first grandson. So that's a part of it. But man, just the fact that I love what I do. I love what I get to do. It's not like coming to work. It's coming to the church and getting to be here with people that are like-minded, that love the Lord, and we're all working on the same vision, the same direction, and so I get to kind of guide the ship. So, man, that's what gets me out of bed every day.
Well, I'm not sure everyone recognizes the fact that you're not only the spiritual leader, speaking God's voice, but you're also a businessman. You have,
Yeah.
right? You've attracted a good team. You put a good team together, just like any business. You have an enormous financial responsibility, and
Right.
does everybody get that? I don't know.
Man, probably not. And I think one of the things that really helped me and prepare me probably for this opportunity was I got to spend almost 12 years at Lifeway, and Lifeway is an organization downtown Nashville that provides resources, church material, camps, events, all for really churches all around the world. And so I got to do that at a director level and had financial responsibility. I managed a $20 million camp business, and so just a lot of responsibility there. Had contribution back to the company that I was responsible for, and so really just the Lord allowing me to kind of work in that area and field for 11 to 12 years and understand that side of ministry, and really learn how to be a good manager and to direct those things. Now coming to church, where we have a little over a $3 million budget here, we're moving into a $13.5 million building campaign.
Yeah.
It allows me to kind of look at those things at a higher level, not get into the weeds, which is kind of what I like to do. I like to have a view of where we are financially, how things are going. It's just different, when we're a donation-based organization. Obviously, we don't have a product that we sell or create. Like when I was with Lifeway, we had a product that we sold. We sold curriculum, we sold camp, we sold experiences. At church, it's donation-based, and so we take in, whatever the church, and our people are so faithful. They're very, very faithful to give, to support the Lord's work. But we've got to be good stewards with that money, and so it's a big thing for me to make sure that we our people can trust us with that.
Well, and we do.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a business side to it for sure. And then, I guess when you look at the business side too, there's the leadership piece of the puzzle, where you're looking at, okay, how do you take an organization and from point A to point B, and that's really a huge part of what we do. But I think what's different, Rick, like for maybe what I do versus what you do, if you want to make a leadership change, or you want to make a directional change in your business,
Yep.
you just do it.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know that you call Donna and say, "Hey, is it okay if I do this or not?" Or how that works.
Collaborate. There's no doubt.
Yeah. But for me, I've got I've got more than one voice that speaks into that, right? So when you lead volunteers and your congregation really are the people that you're responsible to, it's much different. Decisions happen differently. Decisions are implemented differently, and you've got to think. I've got to think about 1,000 people and how they'll respond to a decision versus maybe somebody who thinks about 15 to 20.
Well, yeah, that's multi-layered. You've got a lot of balls in the air when you're going to make a decision. Like you just said, you have 1,500 people that look up to you to make spiritual decisions and financial decisions.
Right.
Your deacons, which is your core group of your experience there. You've
Right.
got your team leaders,
Yep.
and then you have elders in the church. And I'm just going to say this: you can't keep everybody happy.
No, you
Is
can't.
that even possible?
No, man, I'm lucky to keep everybody in my house happy. Nevertheless, the Lord's house. So we do the best we can.
Wow, 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 wow. Well, hey, just before we came on, I had noticed that you have lost weight, and you
Yep.
said that you are.
Yeah, about 30 pounds. Yep.
So, are you cutting weight? Are you going to compete again?
No, man. That's a great question, and several people have asked me that question, but no, I was really trying to get back down to my pre-COVID weight, where when I first came to Emmanuel, I decided to train and kind of get back into the wrestling world and compete at a master's level, and I did that. Went to the U.S. Open and competed, and had a great time. Had some great results, and so. But man, that I hadn't been on the mat in 35, 36 years.
Woo!
Decided to put a singlet on and do it again. And it was great. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed training again, and I enjoyed kind of recapturing that fire of what it meant to train and build your body up like that, and cut some weight, go compete with other men who wrestled. And I didn't realize the level of competition that I was going to run into. I just figured, hey, it's a bunch of old guys and they want to get together and roll around and kind of relive their glory days. And man, it wasn't that at all. I mean,
Hey.
you would have thought these guys were competing for an Olympic team, man. It was crazy. So I go out there, and this was 2016 when I did this. And again, I hadn't been on the mat in probably 35 years. And so, I trained for a year and cut a lot of weight and went out there. And the first match, so I'm wrestling in a U.S. Open tournament at a master's level. And the first match I've got to wrestle is a former Olympian from Romania. And I'm like, what are you doing here? It's the U.S. Open.
You flew over here for this?
Well, he actually lives here, but he was a former Olympian in the 80s on the Romanian team. And he was, at the time, he was ranked second or third in the world.
Dang.
And so that's my first match out, like 35 years, and then I'm strapping my shoes on and I'm wrestling this guy who I think the year before he was third in the world at the World Championships. And so he's my first guy.
Did you get anything on him at all, or did you?
Well, here's the funny thing. So I'm walking to here's what you don't want to do. You don't want to have been out of the sport that long, get back into it. The first guy you wrestle is, a guy who got third in the world, and you walk to the scoring table to check in, and the last thought that runs through your mind is, what am I thinking? That was not the confident feel that I needed to have. And this guy was just, he looked Romanian, it's a big block head, and he was just like, you come here, I kill you, kind of deal.
I kill you dead.
Yeah. And all I could think of was like Drago, in the Rocky movie. And so the guy had a great front headlock, and he probably hit me. His name was Konstantin Tintia. He probably hit me in the right ear, in this right side, probably 20 times in the first period. And he was just clubbing the mess out of me. And
is that legal? Can you do
well,
that?
yeah, at that level, in that Olympic style wrestling. And so I figured out because he had a great headlock. I mean, that was kind of his specialty. And so I figured out if I could re-step around it and lock him up, I could retoss him out of his own headlock. And so I started doing that. The problem with that is I had to take the blow. He had
The
to initiate
setup.
the move, and
Yeah.
I would re-step, lock him, and throw him. So I actually ended up beating him first round.
What?
Yeah, I beat him and put him out. I got him down. I mean, the score was kind of going back and forth, and he had gotten a 4 or 5 point lead on me, and so I got him down, and I was getting some back exposure, and you're talking about.
What's that?
Listen, I was squeezing the guy. I wasn't going to let him go, and I was rolling him, getting back exposure, and I think one of his ribs might have popped, and he wasn't able to finish. So yeah, so it was crazy, man. So I did that like that event, and it was great. Had a great result, and but no, I don't. I'm good, man. I'm done. I'm retired. That's for sure.
Well, how wonderful though that you went in and you were physically prepared, but mentally you there was a question mark, and that's sometimes the biggest hurdle.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's the one thing and funny you said that, because that's exactly was my experience. As I thought to myself coming out of that, physically, I was in great shape. My cardio was great. I got my lungs back. I could wrestle 6, 7, 8 minutes and not get tired. In my late 50s, it was just a great accomplishment for me. What I didn't realize was the mental preparation of competing again at that level. And so when I got out there, I just realized, man, I was nowhere close to being mentally prepared for that, because what I did so I get the toughest guy round one. I beat him, and everybody's kind of standing around the mat going, "Hey, Tintia got beat. Tintia got beat. Who is this guy?" And
You're the man now.
well, and at the masters level, here's the problem. What they do is they run your matches, boom, 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 one after the other.
They stacked you up.
So I'm over there, and I mean, I just get there beating this guy. I'm dying. I mean, it was so hard. My ear blew up, and because he hit me so many times in the side of the head. And next thing I know, Pratt on mat four, and I'm like, I can't even breathe, and I got to go wrestle this other guy, And so it was tough, but I'm glad I did it. I mean, it was a great experience.
So how long is a wrestling on that level? How many minutes is the match?
So you do 2 3 minute periods.
2 3 minutes. Okay. So you the same guy. You roll 3 minutes.
Yeah. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but man, I'm gonna tell you something. It is the hardest 6 minutes that you'll ever do, of anything you'll ever do.
I'm fully aware.
Because it's just constant movement, constant pressure, constant tension. And so and I was coaching, so right after that I came to Emmanuel, and so my weight was still pretty low, and so then just, man, being here 7 years and loving life and eating a lot, COVID hit, got all my COVID weight on, and just really haven't had time to kind of get back down to where I need to be, and feel good about it.
Well, you look happy and healthy.
Yeah, I'm finally there, and I feel good, and health is good. So, man, everything's great.
So you started out as a high school wrestler and then went to college, and
Yeah.
How was that experience for you?
Yeah, it was great. Rick, wrestling is something that came to me just out of a whim. Most people start wrestling early in life, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, whatever. I was a sophomore in high school, and I'm walking up the hill every Saturday morning after a high school football game. We would always show up on Saturday. We'd run a mile, and we would watch film. So we did this, and I kind of, my dad wanted me to go to college. I'm a first generation college graduate from my family. And so my dad really wanted me to go to college, and he felt like athletics would be a path. And so I thought it was going to be football, but I just wasn't very big. I was 5'8" at that time, 5'8", about 160 pounds. And, nobody was looking for a 160-pound linebacker. And so was walking up a hill, and one of the football coaches said to me, "I mean, have you ever thought about wrestling?" I was like, "No, I've never even thought about it, And he said, "Well, you ought to try it. You ought to try it." Like, okay. I mean, I talked to my mom and dad about it, and mom wasn't crazy about it. Dad thought, okay, it'll be something to do to keep you in shape for football. And went out my sophomore year, the first year, Great story. First match I ever wrestled was against a guy named Alan Slugans, Woodford County High School, Lexington in Kentucky, Versailles, Kentucky. They wore black karate robes with yellow belts with hoods on. And they were the baddest looking dudes you'd ever seen. I mean, they were just
Like, cool.
and this guy's ranked like first or second in the state. He's the first guy I have to wrestle ever in my life. And so I go out there and wrestle this guy, and he, like, when I say he kicks my behind, he literally, like, he destroyed me and literally turned me around and kicked me in the behind, like he literally did that to me.
Just as an intimidation move. That's not a wrestling move.
Yeah, he was just. I'm just like
messing with you.
Like I'm crawling over to the side, going, "I quit. I don't want to do this anymore." And
I shouldn't laugh.
no, it was crazy. I'd never done it before. So what's crazy? Here's what's crazy though. So throughout that first year, things just start clicking. Like it just starts. I don't know how it just made sense. It's like the light bulb went off and it made sense. And I end up as state runner up my first year.
Wow.
And
this guy, in fact, did you fight that guy again for state?
So check this out. So I faced this guy in the quarterfinals.
Nice.
And I beat him in overtime in the quarterfinals.
Nice.
Yeah. Crazy. And so,
wow.
so that just kind of set everything off to a whole different path of, hey, maybe this is your path. And so, I get a full scholarship to wrestle at the University of Kentucky, and go there. And it was back when SEC schools, Title IX was killing SEC wrestling. And so there was at that point, it was only Tennessee, LSU, and Kentucky had programs. And
can I ask? Well, okay, what you said?
Title IX.
Title IX was ruining. I don't understand.
So basically, this was late 70s. Title IX came through, and it was about gender equity in sports.
Okay.
So back then you either had to get rid of a male sport or add a female sport.
Uh-huh.
So at that point,
so much movie,
the same number of sports, both male and female.
Okay.
So what they chose to do is just kill SEC wrestling, kill wrestling of the SEC. So every SEC school just dropped the wrestling program.
Wow.
And so I went to UK in 81, 82 was my first year there. And then we still had a program, had a great team, had several All-Americans. Ricky Delegado was a world team member, and he was on our team. I mean, we just had a great team. But that killed it. So as a freshman, I go to UK and start as a freshman. So, my fourth year of wrestling, that's what kind of, as I think about it now, I'd only been wrestling 3 years, and now I'm starting for a Division I program.
That's smoking right there.
And it was really crazy. We did our high school wrestle-offs to see who's going to make the team my senior year. We actually did those at University of Kentucky. It was just kind of a special treat for us to go down there and be around those college guys and all that. And so I didn't really have anybody to wrestle off in my weight class for my high school team. And so the college coach at Kentucky said, "Hey, why don't you let Pratt wrestle one of my guys?" And my high school coach was like, "Okay." And so we did that, and I beat him. So I'm a high school senior, and I beat this guy that just came in as a highly recruited on Kentucky's team. And so I beat the guy. And that was it was great for me, horrible for that guy, because dude, you just got beat by a guy that's been wrestling 2 years. He's in his third year of wrestling. And
you got punked by a high school kid.
Yeah, he got punked by, anyway. So I ended up going to UK and having a great experience there, and they dropped the program. And so I came down to Tennessee and finished at Carson Newman, which I'm so glad it was just all God's plan, because, I was not a follower of Christ then. And so ended up coming to Carson Newman because I wanted to go to a smaller school, and because education wise, a big campus just was not good for me. I didn't connect. I had to have a little bit more attention for me, because academics just weren't what we emphasized in my house. It was all about sports. And so that was very, very helpful for me to get in a smaller school environment. It happened to be a Southern Baptist school. And so there my second year there, met a guy who just witnessed to me, loved me, encouraged me, showed me what Christ looks like, and never really preached to me, never really beat me over the head with the Bible, but he just lived his life in front of me and showed me what Christ looks like. And it was very attractive to me. I said, man, that's what I want. Like, what you have is what I want. And like this guy, I'll never forget, we went to Clemson and wrestled Clemson. And he went out and got beat, came back and came over to me and just started encouraging me. And I thought to myself, like, aren't you angry? Like, aren't you mad that you just got beat? He's like, man, that doesn't matter. He was just encouraged. So I was seeing these kinds of things in his life that I thought, man, how do you live that way? How do you process that? It didn't make any sense to me. But anyway, so man, he led me to Christ and I became a believer, follower of Jesus, and met Julie while I was there. And so, it was all God's plan for me to be at that smaller school, to really the trajectory of the rest of my life was going to take off from there.
That's such an amazing story.
It was
really
cool. Yeah, it was awesome. I had a great experience in wrestling. That's why I love wrestling so much, I think. I mean, obviously because of the competitive nature of the one-on-one mono, mono is just you and somebody else in the ring. And but it did so much for me. I mean, the first time I ever flew on an airplane was because of wrestling. The first time I ever got to go out of the country was because of wrestling. The guy that led me to Christ was on a wrestling team. There's so many things that the sport opened up doors for me to be able to have opportunity. So I love it, still still watch it. I'm done coaching. I coached at Donaldson Christian Academy for 8 years. When my kids were there, I coached here at Lebanon High School for 5 years. And so I've kind of retired from all of that, but still love the sport.
Well, that's unfortunate for those gentlemen because I imagine you are a spectacular coach. You've done that.
I loved pouring into the guys. I loved getting on the mat, wrestling with them, showing them moves, and it just got to the point to where that that's not as fun anymore. It's a little more difficult to do that
for you to be on with.
Yeah. When I'm in the fourth quarter of my life now, if I've got some energy, I'm going to play golf and I'm not going to wrestle. So that's what I enjoy doing to recreate. So,
wow. Well, unfortunately, we've reached the end of our time today. This is, as I expected, spectacular. It's so.
Oh wow, we're over. We're done. We just got started. We're just getting started.
I know. I know. I agree 100%. And maybe you'll agree to come back and
absolutely
carry this conversation on at a later time. I would really appreciate that.
Yeah, man, I would love to anytime. Maybe I'll let you ask some questions. I guess I'm always listen. I am always blamed for giving long answers. So I guess you have to be careful the questions that you ask me.
Well, I asked you the right questions, and
at least for part one, right?
Well, again, thank you for being with us, and you folks out there. That's all we have for today. Listen, if you get lost when you're diving or in life, always remember that it's bubbles up.
That's it.
See you later.
Thank you, brother.